The first thing that I realized that the schools were not teaching was the ability to read. So I had to teach him from the ground up, and I taught him how to
Seriously?
read. Yes.
What do you mean they're not being taught to read? Like they don't have it as part of their curriculum, or?
The way that schools everywhere teach, they teach based on many different strategies. For example, look at they're reading a sentence. Well, look at the picture. What does the picture tell you? Or what's the first letter of the word? Try to guess. It's called, I believe it's called balanced reading. What I heard is like around 30% of kids that are taught this way, where they're just basically taught like, okay, I'm going to read a story to you and you can just guess. About 30% of kids can learn to read pretty much no matter what, as long as they're exposed to reading. For some reason they pick it up.
Yeah.
But then there's a large percentage of children that they need more than that. They need like phonics, for example, and this is what I learned with him, because I was trying to teach him to read by I put words all over the house, because this was after the school shut down. I thought I need to teach him how to read, and I put words all over the house, and then I would say, this is what that says, this is what that says, and then after that I would say, hey Damien, go ahead and guess what that word says, and he wouldn't know, even though the item is right there. And I would say, Damien, sound it out, and he acted like the words were Chinese, like he knew what the letters were. If I say, what letter is this? But number one, he was only able to identify 80% of the alphabet, and number two, if you saw that letter in the middle of a word, it was like a letter that just got lost in a bunch of words. So I had to teach from scratch. I basically taught him how to sound out every single word, and then I learned that there's a bunch of combination sounds like CHER. You have to teach him how to sound out those combination sounds. And there's so many different rules you have to teach.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when a word ends with the letter Y, that Y is pronounced E. When a word ends with the letter E, you ignore the E, and
Oh, so, that's a good point.
When that's how I did not even realize how hard it was to learn to read. So when he was going to school, the teachers were like, oh yeah, he's doing just fine, I have no concerns. They never told us that, guess what? No, he's not really picking up the skills. And so it was really hard, because I realized that he had symptoms of ADHD. He had a really short attention span. So I really focused on teaching how to read. At first it was very challenging because he didn't want to do it. So I had to use a variety of techniques to encourage him to do it, and to basically tell him that you're going to learn how to do this. So I used a variety of techniques to teach him how to read. Within a few months, he was able to read like Dr. Seuss books. And then eventually I had to teach him how to write, which is a totally different animal. And
you did all of that after work?
I had to,
like in the evenings, or did you not work?
When the pandemic happened and the school shut down, that was March of 2020. And just before that, I was having all these issues like daycare issues and other things that I was worrying about, and I don't know how I was going to deal with it. So in a way, that school shut down was a little bit of a miracle, and I got to stay home and not work. But I was able to get unemployment. I was able to get unemployment. So I was off work on pandemic leave, full pandemic leave, for over a year. And then when I got back to work, June of 2021, I got to come back. I convinced them to give me half days. So I worked half days for 6 months. That was wonderful. And then after that, I was working full time, but then I still sometimes had to take time off because of different things weren't completely resolved with the schools and pandemic, and just different issues. So I had all this time off, and I dedicated that to teaching him reading, writing, and then I taught him basic math skills. I taught him started with counting with his fingers. First grade comes around, that's when he's doing distance learning because pandemic, right? And I thought, he's all set, he's good to go, I'm never going to let him get behind again. And what I realized is that when the teacher was trying to teach math, she wasn't really teaching math. She was teaching all these like weird strategies, like almost like it wasn't direct teaching, and I was thinking, when is she actually going to teach him how to add or
Yeah.
subtract, and he started to get behind. So even though he was doing all the homework,
But was he
and
the only one, or was it other children as well?
first, you have to remember that I don't know the grades of the other kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that there are many kids that also struggled, but he started to get behind, and then by the end of his first school year, he definitely got behind. He was getting, it could be C's, D's, F's on the test, the math test that she was giving him. His writing was going backwards. His spelling is going backwards. And luckily, I still had some more time off. And so I used that to get him caught up. And what I realized is the reason why...
Yes. Oh, wow. You're a jumper. You're going to be an athlete. Sorry.
What I learned